Hi everyone, welcome in this video where I will show you how to create a scene with a nice gravity simulation between objects. At first, English is not my mother tongue, so sorry if my accent bothers you or if I do mistakes. This is not easy for me. What we will use is Blender 2.9. It should work with Blender 2.8. And we will create manually some objects, and then we will use Python to add randomness for the scale and gravity strengths between objects. Okay, so at first remove everything in the scene here, so press A key and delete key and add an icosphere here. Okay, so to make this object interacting with gravity, it should be a rigid body. So to make it rigid, you can click on physics properties here and click on rigid body. It works, and the mass you can leave 1 here, the default value. It's not a problem. So if I now press on spacebar to start the animation or press the play button here, you will see that the object will fall. This is normal because Blender has a default gravitation that goes to the ground, and we don't need it, so we can deactivate this in scene property and uncheck gravity like that. So now if I press spacebar, as you can see, the object is not falling. Pressing escape makes the animation to go back to the frame 1. Keep in mind to go back to the frame 1 several times when you restart your animation, because we haven't baked in our simulation. Okay, inside the physics properties, you can see that there is a force field. It will not work with rigid body. I will show you why. Set the strength to -50, for example, to make the gravitation going to the object and not from the object. And duplicate this, and if you press spacebar, as you can see, there is no gravitation between two objects. This is because the force field on an object only interacts with particles, and we don't use particles here. So remove this and uncheck force field. To make it working, what we can do is to add a real force field inside our icosphere. So what I can do here is to add a new force field like that. You can go to the wireframe view to check where is your force field, and then with the force field selected, you can select also your icosphere by pressing shift click and then Ctrl P and set parent to object. Now if I move my icosphere, my force field follows my icosphere. Select the force and go to the strength, set it to -50 for example, and then you can go back to the shading view and you can duplicate this and now start the animation, and as you can see, our objects are attracted. Okay, there is a glitch on Blender, I don't know why, but the force field seems to be outside our object. This is not the true. Actually, you will need to refresh your viewport by changing your frame here. Go to the frame 2 and then 1, for example, or you can use right arrow key and left arrow key to move your to change the frame number here. Okay. And this is not a problem, this is only a glitch. There is another problem here. If I take this one, I will duplicate it here and duplicate this one here. What you can see if I store the animation is that this object is very attracted by the others, and this is not the reality. This is not like that in the universe. Isaac Newton law says that the gravitation decreases by the square of the distance, and here this is not the case. So if you want to respect Isaac Newton law, you will need to activate gravitation here. But now if you leave this this option activated, the gravitation will be very low. So what we need to do here is to set a very huge value. For example, minus 5,000, like that. And now if I duplicate this here and duplicate this here, as you can see, these objects are very attracted, and this world need time to have more gravitation with the distance. Okay, so this is very important to check the gravitation here. And one more time, right key, left key to right key, left key to refresh the viewport. Okay, so taking this object like that, we can now duplicate many times this object like that. I can now select everything and make more object, and it will works like expected. I can remove the overlay like that to get a more prettier view, and it works very nicely. This is very cool, and it could be enough if you want to make some nice animation. But here what I want to do is to have more randomness. I want to scale my object and get force and mass to be changed randomly. And to do this, we can use Python. Python is a very easy scripting language, and it is integrated inside Blender. So you will be able to make everything inside Blender with scripting. So let's create a new scene, a new file for, delete everything, delete, like that. And we will prepare our scene by removing the gravity, like that. Okay. Blender proposes a new scripting workspace, which is very nicely made. There is the viewport here. This is the Python interactive console, where you can type comment in Python to make some tests. Here we will be able to create your script. We will create a script here. And here, this is an information tab, where you can see the Python expression to use to make your scene, to interact with your scene with Python. And this is very useful because we will use it a lot afterwards. So what we want to do is now to make something that sets random objects inside our scene from an object that we have selected. So there is many ways to do, and I will show you a simple way. Then later you will be able to make maybe more complicated scripts, but I will try to keep it very simple. This is not an add-on. This is not a Python add-on. We only will create a simple script that will help to create your scene. This is very useful. You don't need to create add-ons for everything. Sometimes Python scripts are very useful to generate a scene, okay? And what we want to do, what we need to do is to know what exactly we want to create, what we want to do, from what we start. So, in my opinion here, what is very cool to do is to prepare an object. For example, I will use an icosphere. I will add my field like I did earlier. I select this field. I will set it to minus 5,000 and set the gravitation like that, and set it child to the icosphere. So now my object is ready, and what I want to do now in Python is to get this object and children and duplicate it. Then change the scale, force, and gravity strength. We need to set the rigid body also. Okay, so we will change the mass, we will change the strength, and we will change the scale of this object. This is what we want to do with Python. So, how to create this? The first thing to do is to know how to get the selected object. There is many ways to do, but one which is very nice is to use BPY, Blender Python package. .context, you can press tabulation, the tab key to get completion. Select selected objects. This is a list. You can see because this is wrapped by brackets. There is a bracket here and a bracket here. So we need to get the first elements, and the first elements as index 0. Everything starts by 0. And now I've got the icosphere, okay? So to get the selected object, I will need to get the selected object like that. So what we can do, I copy this and I will create a new script like that. Name it gravity.py, for example. I think to set the .py extension to have syntax highlight and the play button here, which start the script. You can start the script by pressing Alt-P also. And what we will do here is to import BPY. So this is the Blender Python package. And to get the selected object, I will set like that. Get the selected object here. Okay, so now we've got the selected object. What we need to do here is now to create a function to duplicate. Why to create a function? At first, this is very useful to debug your scripts. It's very easy to change, to know where is your script is broken if there is a bug, because Python will give you a line and which is the function, what is the function who fails. And you will be able to also reuse your script anywhere. Something that is very interesting, it's not mandatory, but I recommend to make this, is to place your script inside a test, which test if the package name is main. I will try to explain this very simply. What you need to know is that this is a package. This is a module. This is a Python module. When you launch a module as the main script, the name value here is __ main. But if you import your script inside another script, the name is not main. This is gravity for this one. Okay, so because we will launch this script as the main script, it will start what is inside this test. One more time, this is not mandatory, but I recommend to make this line and to code inside the main function like that. Okay, so what we need now is to create the function to make the duplication. So we will name duplicate like that, and I recommend to get the object as parameters. So I will name it OB. That way we will be able to call duplicate OB like that. One more time, tabulation to have auto completion. Okay, and now how to duplicate this object with children. So if I take this object, I will name it selected, for example, here, and if I check, there is a property which is named children, and as you can see, I have children objects of my selected object. So what I need to do is to select my object and the children. Okay, to set an object selected, this is very simple. You only need to call selected.select set, and you will need to pass true. Okay, see, if I set it to false like that, it unselect my object, and if I set true, it's selected. Okay, so I will need to ob.select set true, and for my children I will do the same. So what I can do here is for child in ob children, I will say child.select set true. Why should I need to select this? I must select this because I will call this function a lot of times. So here this will be called a lot of time. I will need to have other objects unselected. So I need to unselect every object and select only what I need. So to unselect everything, I will try to call select known like that, and as you can see here, there is the operation to call to unselect everything. So I will copy this here like that. So now when I select this object, if I press play like that, oh, there is a problem, duplicate, oh sorry, selected here like that. So now if I select my sphere and press play, as you can see, it selects my object and my the force here inside my my object, because this is a child of the icosphere. Okay, so now what I need to do is to make the duplication. So when I want to duplicate, I everything selected, I will shift D and place it like that, and as you can see here, there is a huge command, a huge expression which is called. So I will copy and paste here and check what is done. Actually, I know that duplicate move here, this is the default parameter. So what we can do here is to remove any parameters. This is not mandatory to get to leave them. So if I do this duplication, as you can see, so now the object is duplicated, and I will need to get now the duplicated object. So because it is selected, I can do this like that, and I can get the duplicated object like that. Okay, so this is the icosphere, because this is the first one selected in the duplicated group. Okay, so now what can I do? I can, for example, change the duplicated location. For example, the X, we will set it to 3, for example, and we will try to do our duplication like that. So I can press play, and as you can see, there is my sphere here. One more time, use right arrow and left arrow to refresh your viewport, because the force field can be not refreshed in your viewport. Okay, so as you can see, it works. It actually works, and it's very it works like expected. But now what I want to do is to change the location of my duplication randomly. To use random value, what we can use is the package which is named random. This is a default package inside Python. So I import random, and there is a lot of function to create random values. One that I like is the uniform uniform function. Sorry, you give 2 parameters, the mean values and the max values. For example, 20 here, and it will give me each time I call it, it will give me a random value. Okay, so what we can do here is to import random, and we will use this to set a random X, random uniform, and we will need bounding values here. So what I want to do here is to create a global. So globals are in uppercase. This is not mandatory, but it's recommended. So I will set it max max lock, for example, and I will take I will say that I want maybe 50. Okay, and I will use minus max lock to max lock. So this will be minus 50 to 50. I will get for X something from minus 50 to 50, and this will be a random value for that. I will do it for Y and Z. So I do it line by line. because location has x, y, z. Actually, location is a vector, and this is an object inside math utils. But I want to keep this tutorial very simple, so for now I will only check set these values line by line. Later, if you want to learn more on Python, you will be able to use vector from math utils. Okay. So now, if I try to run this, as you can see, there is now a new object here, and we can now do it many times. Okay, so it's possible now to launch duplicate several times, and it will be placed anywhere inside our bounding box here. Okay, but it's not sufficient. What we want to do also is to scale it and change the mass and change the force strength. Just one thing, the force strength should follow the mass. A massive object has a huge gravity strength, and a lightweight object has not too much of gravity. So we need to have a factor, and this factor will be applied to the gravity and the mass. And why not? We can use the same factor for the scaling, to scale our object. So what we need to do here is to create a factor. So I will say factor like that, and we will use a random value one more time in uniform, and we will use, for example, something from 1 to 4, for example. But one more time, I recommend to use global value here to make it easy to tweak. Okay, so I will say the fact min, and so the fact min could be it could be a value which is lower than 1, for example 1.5, so this will reduce the size. And what we can do here is the fact max. What we want to do is to have something not over 2, for example, so it can divide by 2 or multiply by 1 or 2 or 1 by 5 and so on. Okay, so we will use the fact min and the fact max here. So now the factor will be something between 0, 5 and 2, and we will scale your duplicated dot duplicate scale. Don't remember, selected dot scale, it's okay, scale it's 1 here. Scale, it's a vector also, so I will scale x, y and z like that. Y and z, and because we don't want to deform our object, we will use the same factor for every for each value like that. Okay, so now the scaling will be set by the factor, and now what we need is to set the mass and the force factor here. Okay, so how can we do this? I recommend to use the preferences here, and in interface here check Python tooltips, because when you move your mouse over something in Blender, you will have the Python path here, and this is very useful to know what to do. So what you can see is that we've got a .rigidBody.mass, and we can also copy data path like that and change, for example, the duplicated dot Control V, and we can multiply this mass by the factor. Okay, instead of writing this like that, there is another way in Python to do this. You can say store equal factor. That means mass is multiplied by factor, and it is set to mass. And this is not an the operation is applied to the mass here. Okay, so it's okay, but now we need to change the force value. And the problem is that what is selected here, duplicated, sorry, what is this object is not the force, this is the sphere. So we need to get the children and try to change the strength of the gravity strength. Okay, so I will copy the database, and this is okay, but we cannot do this on duplicated. We need to set it on the force. So here there is several ways to do. Because we know that we have only one child, which is the force, we can, for example, say duplicated dot children 0 dot field dot strength and multiply it by the factor, for example. This is okay, but later if you want to if you have many other children, sorry, you will need to try to change the force to any forces object inside your icosphere. So what you can do, this is not recommended, but you can do it because this is not something that we will share to someone. This is for you. You can, for example, do for child in duplicated children. And you can try to do the child dot field strength like that factor, and say if there is an error except pass. That means okay, try to do this, and if it doesn't work because the child has no field strength, sorry, this is what you say. But here, because our script is very easy and we don't need to make it very complicated, we can say, okay, take the children, the first child, and change the strengths. Okay, so now it's okay. What we can do now, we will try it for 1 like that. So I select the icosphere only, I press play, and there is no problem. Okay, and I can see that there is my icosphere. Right click, left click, whatever, and then the force has a new value. It's okay, and here the mass has changed, and if I press N, I can see that the scale has changed also. So that means that it worked. Okay, so now I can delete this. I can go back here. I press I zoom on my icosphere, and what I can do now is to change here the duplication. So what you can do here is to say for E in range will iterate on the value. So for example, I want to set 50 object. I duplicate the selected. Okay, so let's try now. And it's okay, we've got our scene here. So go to the layout view like that, one more time, right arrow keys, left arrow key, and press space, and yes, it works. It's nice, it's very cool, and you will have something like that. So what you can do also now is to go to the scripting tab. If you want to remove everything, there is a nice way to do. I collapse my collection. I create a new collection here. I set it AA, for example. You can move this to the top and take the icosphere, move it to the new collection. As you can see, there is the field should be also moved inside icosphere. Here you can select everything, select object, delete that, and now you can move your collection and the field back to the collection here. This is a nice way to don't lose what you did here. Okay, so what I can show you now is that we can get a new more and more objects. So I will get a new value for the max log. For example, this value is very larger, and I will need to get maybe more object here. You can press play, and we've got now a large animation set, and this is very cool. It works. It works like I want. If it's a bit slow for you, you can change the rigid body here and change the speed, for example, to 3, and change, press play, and it is now a bit faster. Okay, and this is very cool. This is very nice to see how it works. Okay, so Control Z. What we can what we can see is that it works with any other object. So for example, I would add a monkey. I add a new force field like that. Set parent to the monkey like that. Don't forget to change the strength to minus, for example, 5000, and gravitation like that. Select the monkey, press play. Oh, there is a problem because I forget it to set the rigid body. Okay, so the Suzanne here is delete the hierarchy and delete that. I forget it to set like that, so now it should work. Play, and this is okay. So there is a Suzanne bit to close. Okay, so it's okay, and if I go to the layout like that and I press play, it works. Let's make the animation a bit. Yes, what we can do here is to change your animation and frame to something very huge. You can go here and press the home button to see everything here, and in the rigid body world to the scene property like that. You can change in the cache here. You can change and set another value here, and it will simulate for more frames. And as you can see, it works, and it works very nicely. And this is so useful, so impressive to be able to make it with a small amount of Python line. And I really love Python. I do it professionally for my project, not only for Blender. This is I do machine learning and websites with Python. This is very nice to use. Python is very easy to understand. This is a scripting language which is very nicely made. The documentation is very cool, and as you can see, this is very easy to understand what it does, what I do here. So I hope that what I showed you on this video is useful for you. Thanks for watching.